how to begin to satisfy the yearnings of our people, it only means that that particular territory that we are talking about will be better. And if it is better, it's reflective for the rest of the country.
So it's not dichotomous?
It's not dichotomous, not in any way. For me, it is not. I mean, I just told you that northern governors meet regularly. Not just the governors, with their northern elders, with Arewa Consultative Forum, with their economic whatever. And how could that become dichotomous?
But don't you feel there will be a degree of unease?
No, my brother. The truth is, when in fact, it reduces national tension, for all I care. Because it is only when people from these same states see their governors meeting regularly that they themselves can feel quite comfortable living in the other states or having to do businesses across the South.
Because this is tending towards 2019. Now, you know, the elections are here, and one of the biggest concerns during elections is that of violence, electoral violence and malpractices. Do you foresee, say for instance, now with the southern governors, and that happens to be very predominant in the southern part of the country, do you see, for instance, with this meeting of the southern governors, that will be minimized and there will be that level of understanding that galvanizes and harmonizes the people even more?
I think this meeting underscores the need for our leaders to keep talking, for our leaders to keep exploring and exploiting ways to make life better. Let me tell you an example. Last week, you know, the PDP is preparing for a chairmanship election, a national convention. Yeah. Last week, the contestants for the chairmanship position were called to a meeting. 3 of them, Dr. Dokpesi, Otumba Gbenga Daniel, and Professor Adeniro, came to the meeting, and all their supporters or their campaign operatives were there at the meeting. The truth is, everybody left that hall with tension very, very lowered, with all people who used to see themselves as enemies. Oh, you are in the other camp, I'm in this camp, you are in the other camp. The contestants got together and said, 3 of us are very capable, any of us.
Does this breach party lines?
What happened in Abuja?
No, this sudden thing. Yes.
This is what I'm telling you, that yesterday, it wasn't whether you were a PDP governor, ABGA governor, or an APC governor. Issues that were discussed were actually across party lines.
But how do you see this playing out? Because I think it was a couple of days ago when there were reports credited to the Senate president. I think was saying something as to why the effort to revisit devolution of power may fail. So how do you see this playing out if it gets to the National Assembly again in the light of this meeting?
This kind of meeting can put a lie to the claim of the Senate president. Because if all the states and their governors and their senators and their House of Reps members have agreed to issues, then it is a little easier for everybody to be looking in the same direction. It is quite easier for, in point of fact, senators from the South and from the North to sit together and begin to look at the future of Nigeria.
But what about putting in question the regional composition of the National Assembly? How will that affect the dynamics?
You see, I have always said that Nigeria, our political setup is highly dislocated. I mean, a situation where you have a preponderance of representatives coming from one side of the country, and but you see, I am saying to you that once elected into the House, you should stop seeing yourself as coming from the north, south, west, or wherever. You should look at the quality of legislation. You should look at national interest. Those who wrote the American Constitution, they didn't write it for themselves, for their convenience. They wrote it for several years ahead. Why can't we do that if we are actually practicing a democracy that we have fashioned after America?
You know, how much of what the Nigerian people want, or the electorate want, how much of it does this kind of meeting take into consideration?
It's not, we won't get there in one day. But true, this kind of meetings go down well, better with the people than with the governors.
Is it likely going to douse the mutual, maybe distrust?
I already said that. I already said
among
that.
the people, not just the...
I already said that. That's why I gave you the example of the PDP contestants. Once they left the room and each of them had addressed the gathering, we don't want any fight. We must not lose focus of where we are going. It's only one person who can become national chairman, not two people, not three people. Only one person must win in a race. If you run behind the person in your front, you will come second. If you run faster, you will come first. And this do or die thing, this winner takes all mentality.
What about the actuality of that winner takes all? Shouldn't we do something about correcting it? Because many say that's what it is.
We can correct it if we have level playing fields. If elections are free and fair. Chamberlain, me and you go and contest an election, right? And I'm declared winner, and you immediately get up and hug me. Who is going to be fighting on the street? Who would they be fighting for? Who would they claim they are fighting for? They love you better than yourself? That's the point.
Brilliant.
All right, that's a fantastic place to just anchor this morning.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure having Mr. Ide Igwabo, a journalist, a political analyst, and publisher of the now arrested National Interest newspaper. He was also the former spokesperson of the South People's Assembly. Thank you for coming on this morning.
A pleasure, always.
All right, then we'll be back in a moment. Don't go away.